I believe 9/11 was an inside job, CMV. Around my senior year of high school, 2009-ish, I became quite interested in public events and foreign relations and wanted to become more knowledgeable about how the United States compared to the other CM nations without the star-spangled bias you get from public school and Fox News. Not too long after that, I was exposed to 9/11 in plain sight, as well as others, and the copious amounts of conspiracy social me's videos of YouTube. As someone of above-average intelligence and a skeptic by nature, I have never taken conspiracy theories too seriously, as many rely on sparse circumstantial evidence, but for whatever reason, this feels different. My main reasons for suspecting foul play in order of importance. Building 7? Question mark. The buildings all collapse uniformly at near freefall speed, implying a coordinated severance of support beams, along with pictures forums 9/11 showing 45-degree angled cuts on support beams not consistent with melting the columns. Multiple eyewitness accounts of explosion coming from the basement and bottom floor, along with the janitor that was in basement's burns. Traces of nanothermite in the dust collected from the scene. I'm honestly not sure what to make of all this evidence, but something just strikes me as unsettling. And I see a lot of skeptics to whom I look up to, Michael Shermer, Bill Maher to a lesser degree, etc., dismissing the notion, and I'm not sure what I'm overlooking that they aren't. I'm swearing into the Navy on CM/Wednesday, and this is the world my biggest cause of apprehension about joining the war machine. So hopefully one or more of you fine people can CM/IMV. Disclaimer, first post, so I apologize in advance if I am in violation of any rules or protocol. Edit. That didn't take long. Thanks to those who responded, now I'll rejoin the ranks of the lurkers. Edit number 2, so a shit ton of new comments overnight. And sorry to say I can't address them individually. Not that y'all are craving my opinion, but I read them all. And it's good to note that other seemingly social me's intelligent people shared my concerns and skepticism. And I really enjoyed the healthy discourse below. Both sides have produced compelling arguments, but after reassessing probability figures and relinquishing sides my right to observe evidence and draw my own conclusions due to my egregious lack of knowledge on the subject, the reality is that it would be insurmountably difficult to orchestrate something of this magnitude. I still think it's a little fishy, but my common sense tells me that's probably due to authorities' lack differences of a clear picture, not direct involvement and subsequent cover-up. Thanks again for playing. Hope to see you all again. The problem with those who are 9/11 truthers is that whenever a claim is refuted, rather than change their views, they just look for other reasons or abnormalities to support their claim. They also tend to disregard the enormous quantity of evidence supporting the idea that it was not an inside job. Therefore, before I spend the time refuting these 4 points, I want you to agree that if I come up with a reasonable explanation for each of the points, you will accept that it was not an inside job, rather than just seek out other ways to support your claim. Also, it should be noted that one can never 100% prove the negative, that it wasn't an inside job. For example, one could say any evidence showing it was not an inside job was faked to look that way. Say that all witnesses were paid off, that all the incriminating evidence was hidden, etc. The only thing one can do is show that it is overwhelmingly more likely that it was not an inside job. And at that point, you need to also accept that it wasn't. All of the buildings in the complex were damaged by massive buildings falling on them. Building 7 just got the worst of it. IIRC, Building 7, fell about an hour after 1 and 2, and firefighters had already evacuated because they could tell it was on the verge of collapse. If you watch video of the towers falling, you can see they started at where the planes hit. There were several stories above where the planes hit. So that's a lot of weight falling at once onto the rest of the building, which caused a chain reaction of each floor falling into the next. The building wasn't built for that kind of stress, which caused the whole thing to collapse pretty quickly. As far as the cut beams you were talking about, there were only a few of them, and truthers cherry-picked them out. When the towers fell, each floor sandwiched into the next. There's a lot of air in between each floor, and it has to go somewhere. The easiest escape out is weakened windows, the explosions coming out of windows, some truthers like to point out, or down the stairwell, which ended in the basement. I never heard about a burned janitor. But that air coming into the basement would be really hot. Thermite is just a mixture of a metal powder and a oxidizer, typically aluminum and iron oxide. You don't need a chemical reaction to make it, just to physically mix it. Mythbusters made a bunch by putting the two powders in a cement mixer. You'd find a lot of that stuff mixed together when two 100-plus story buildings collapse. In addition to that, an inside job would require weeks of work, including cutting away walls to wrap the support beams with explosives or thermite, which, unless channeled, only burns down, by the way. Many of the over 30,000 people that worked there every day must have noticed that, but no one did. Why the hell are so many people saying that 9/11 was an inside job? I have been watching some videos about 9/11. 45% were talking about their family story and giving respect to those that survived and died. 15% were some shitty, edgy jokes. The rest was idiots saying it was USA who attacked themselves and no plane struck Pentagon. Why is that, I'm wondering?
Because conspiracy theories are seductive. You feel as if you are the main character in a movie when you make these discoveries.
The incompetence of the security agencies is not as cool as the government were in on it. There are a variety of reasons people believe conspiracy theories. While some are complete and utter whack jobs who think the Jews are conspiring to bring about an authoritarian world socialist government, for others, I think it's a sheer sense of disbelief that this could even be allowed to happen, and perhaps therefore a kind of fear that they're trying to run away from now that they've learned the authorities aren't perfect, coupled with a distrust of the US government, which in itself isn't irrational. The ones who are most stupid are those who insist planes didn't even hit the Y-230s, and that some form of explosives or even an exotic weapon were used. Saw some people think the planes were CGI and the towers never fell. I knew people were stupid, but I was absolutely in shock, awe of how stupid people actually can be. The ones who are most stupid are those who insist planes didn't even hit the Y-230s and that some form of explosives or even an exotic weapon were used. Heard a guy say that the other said was saying confidently that it was on purpose because there was an explosion at the bottom when the towers fell. I'm still baffled by his logic. For some people, when the facts conflict with their assumptions about how the world works, they change their assumptions. For others, they change the facts to conform to their assumptions about how the world works. Because otherwise, it would force them to reevaluate their ideas. Because some people can't process that such an astonishing event was executed successfully and done because other people wanted to terrorize us. They need for there to be some huge explanation and conspiracy to explain this huge event. I think the thing about 9/11 is that it's so unbelievable that it's easy for people to latch on to other theories. I admit, I myself once thought the buildings were controlled demolished, but then I grew up. Thanks for the reply. Still don't understand how people think it was controlled. Most people just say it because other people say it and they want to sound cool or different. People have made memes and done interviews for years, and younger people see them and make judgments without knowing what 9/11 actually is. I think the only plausible way it could be considered an inside job is how the US government might have known an attack was coming, but didn't do anything about it. At the end of the day, it's all conspiracy talk, but the outcome is the same. Thousands died, and thousands more died. Next time you hear someone say it was an inside job, ask them how. I guarantee they either won't have an answer or they'll mention jet fuel can't melt steel beams or some other BS like that.
Thank you so much for watching until the end. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next videos. In the meantime, check out the other ones. They're already waiting for you. Share your thoughts on this topic in the comments and tell your own stories. Wishing you a great day and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.